Welcome to Building Solid Foundations Radio. This is your host, Steve Matley. We are on KCAA 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and 102.3 FM. If you miss any of our shows live, you can catch us at kcaaradio.com. We are also on Roku, Amazon Fire, Android on the Building Solid Foundations app, or catch us on your favorite podcast platform. Today, we're going to be talking about real estate education and real estate training. My guest in today by remote is not in the studio today, but by remote is Jennifer Stoll. Jennifer Stoll runs Realty School 101. Jennifer, welcome to Building Solid Foundations. It's fantastic to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
So we've talked on the phone before. We've never actually talked face-to-face before, but I'm familiar a little bit with what you do because our producer, Marie Waite, works with you. So you're a real estate broker in Florida and in California, is that correct?
And North Carolina as well.
North Carolina as well, okay. And are you active in all three of those states doing real estate brokerage?
I am to the extent now of doing a lot of referrals, which has been great.
Okay. And most of your efforts now go to the education side, right?
Absolutely.
Real estate education? Okay. So let's talk about Real Estate School 101, Realty School 101. You started this when?
It was about 7 years ago.
Okay, so 7 years ago, that sounds like it's right in the middle of a pretty bad downturn in the industry.
It definitely wasn't on the full upswing that it is now just yet.
Okay, and was that strategic timing? Was there a special need for it during that time because of what was going on in the business?
I just had so many great interactions with others in my community who aspired to have similar success in real estate, and they wanted to learn more, and I had to find a way to help them out.
Okay, and I think that's great to find a niche in the business where you're helping people to figure things out, share information that you've learned and get from other people. Now, you had a mentor yourself. Tell us about the mentor that you had.
Oh, I have the most fantastic mentor on the planet. His name is Don Schwartz, and he was the one who helped me pass the real estate broker exam in California during a time where as academic as I had been my whole life, I just was in a position where I needed a push. So I contacted him after going through his pre-license program, which now we collaborate often and we share some content and we help students out together, which has been amazing. And he had my back. He was there for me. He called me on the way to the exam to give me some final pointers and things to remember. And he's just an exceptional person. We talk about anything and everything, and it's nice to have that confidant.
And then, aside from him, you also have I believe real estate was in your blood. Is that right? That was family business.
My mom talked me into getting my license when I was still in college. I was only 19 years old when I finished the pre-license course and passed the Florida state exam and sold my first house within a few months from getting licensed. And I remember that the total commission was more than my entire state tuition for college. So that really opened my eyes to the possibilities that exist in real estate.
Okay, and so so did you go to Florida State University?
I did.
Okay, in Tallahassee. Now, I don't know if you know this, the original name for that school was the Florida State Teaching College for Women.
Yes, of course I do.
Yes. It evolved over the years to what it is now. And now I'm thinking when you come out of that, you made enough in one commission to cover your entire tuition. And I think about how many people go to school and they don't really understand the potential in this business, and they'll be paying off those student loans for decades in the future at doing their regular job, and they just don't know that even if they don't want to go into real estate full time, they could potentially do just one or two things even as an investor and make that money.
That's absolutely true. And this is something I talk about a lot when prospective students contact me to explore possibilities, especially at younger ages. I speak with a lot of 17 and 18-year-olds who are trying to figure out their path right after their high school graduation, and they see a lot of YouTube videos and social media ads about people who have experienced great success in real estate in a variety of ways, and they just want to see if they can do it too because it seems so easy. And so I try to distill the information that's already out there so that they can realistically see what it's going to take depending on which path they end up choosing. And that tends to really help them make that choice at an early age and decide how can I get the fundamentals and really not have to spend too much money on a training program just to get access to data and to start really understanding how real estate is practiced with high standards today.
Okay. So I want to get in our second segment. I want to get into kind of the meat of what's in your program, but I do want to say you mentioned real estate. It's not complicated. The real estate business is not overly complex, but at the same time, it's not easy. There's a reason that 90% of the real estate agents out there struggle and 10% make all the money, and it's because they say it's not complex from the sense that you need advanced physics and quantum math and those kind of things. But on the other hand, it does take a lot of work and a lot of effort if you want to be successful at it. You have to be self-disciplined and persistent and have a routine and really work at it. So in your mind, what do you think is the number one skill somebody needs if they want to get into real estate and they want to be successful at this?
I'm not even sure if you would call this a skill per se. It's more of a plan or a vision, and to have intention, to really have an intention behind every action, every thought, every opportunity, exploring options. Look at everything as if there's something to learn and something to potentially act upon, but having intention with everything. There's a lot of new agents who they're not really sure what to do once they get started. They may have some idea, or they end up replicating what they see other agents doing instead of owning their own originality and what makes them who they are. And one of the biggest messages that you hear very often in professional development training within the real estate space is always about starting with your why and your purpose and in what you do. Because while it is about them and not centered on you, you still need to work in your why and let other people know the reason for you to help them with one of their greatest financial investments of their lifetime.
Right. And generally, when we talk about that, the why is not, I want to make a lot of money and I want to be able to do it without a college degree, because that's really too weak. There has to be a much bigger why behind it. Because I know people get into that way. They say, well, it's the most money I can figure out without having to get the degree and all that kind of stuff. And that there's that may be true, but that's not enough to motivate you to do the kind of work you need to do in the real estate business. You have to be able to, again, have persistence. And I think having a big enough why, a big enough reason behind it that's bigger than just I want to get some commission checks.
Certainly, and I agree with that 100%.
All right, and I think that's where they need to dig down into foundational stuff. Why do they want to do anything? Why real estate as opposed to a cupcake bakery or a media services company or accounting? There's a lot of things that people can do to make money, and there has to be a reason that you're doing it, because any of those make a paycheck. Any of those and you can make a great paycheck at it if you do it well enough. But real estate requires certain skills and certain behaviors, things you have to do, certain actions that are not sustainable if you don't have a big enough reason for why you're doing that as opposed to something else. I think that's a very key point you made, Jennifer, that we have to start with a purpose and a why, and it does have to drive every action, every thought, and everything that we do, whether it's real estate or another business. Real estate I don't know, I'm sure in Florida it's probably the same as it is in California. It's a fairly saturated business. There's a lot of agents compared to the volume. Is that what you see in where you are? Just a lot of agents that come in, and a lot of them don't stay long, but a lot of agents come into the deal?
Interesting. I have a few things to say about it, and this is something that I am questioned about often, being that I create new realtors daily, or just licensees, whether I'm helping them upgrade to their broker license or just start out for the first time getting their license. People are wondering, how do we have too many agents out there? And the answer is no, because once everyone figures out the general landscape of the real estate industry in itself, they have to, it's sink or swim in if you do it in the competitive aspect, meaning you're in a small territory, you have to shrink your market even smaller, you have to have a strategy, you have to get referrals. Most of this business from the representation of other people does involve the majority of your business coming from referrals, especially within your community, and for you to be hyper local and knowledgeable about a lot of the happenings, and including the new construction and development and the business side of your downtown and your midtown and where the city is growing. So there's a lot to know. And sometimes that's not always the best fit for everyone to constantly be in that level of competition. But the more you differentiate yourself, and the more you form your own niche, just to make sure that people associate your name within real estate, there is a lot of ways that you can continuously refine your business so that you're not doing the exact same thing as other people in your field. And you can also get into so many other aspects. One of the things that surprised me
we have to go to break real quick. I'm going to come back. We're going to finish you up on that. Sorry, we have to take a commercial break. This is Building Solid Foundations. We'll be right back after this. We're with Jennifer Stoll.
Fire Up Connect is the most innovative business networking group, supporting and collaborating with a dozen of small businesses that are interested in building and establishing strong business connections, hosting educational live seminars while carrying out business and community-driven projects, as well as marketing programs as a part of its membership program. Fire Up Connect also offers virtual assistance with a wide range of services, including inbound customer support, chat support, appointment setting and email management, graphic designing, video editing, web design and development, social media marketing, e-commerce solution, content writing, and much more. For more information, head on over to www.fireupconnect.com. Fire Up Connect, helping success stories unfold every day.
The toughest part in the lending process is patience. Like I tell all my clients, once you get those keys in hand, it'll all be worth it.
Everything that they said they were going to do, they did. I saved so much money working with First Lending Solutions. I love my new house. I couldn't be happier.
So reach out to me at First Lending Solutions so I can help you get started.
You can contact Defina Miller with First Lending Solutions at 951-973-0123, definamillermortgage.com.
Hi, this is Steve Matley. As a construction professional, I know the importance of selecting the right contractor for the job. Power Solar employs only professional installers. Power Solar will provide a knowledgeable consultant to help analyze your current electric bill, identify site placement, and correct solar technology for your home. Contact KCAA producer at gmail.com for a free financial savings proposal with no obligation, or call 951-551-1350 and ask for Ken. Again, that's KCAA producer at gmail.com or 951-551-1350 and ask for Ken. Welcome back to Building Solid Foundations. I'm your host, Steve Matley. We are in conversation right now with a guest, Jennifer Stoll. She runs Realty School 101. And as we went for the break, Jennifer was talking to us about what it takes for a realtor to be successful in the sense of segmenting and finding their niche and really differentiating themselves. And unfortunately, the break, we had to cut her off short. But I do want to say that the question I posed was, do we have too many agents? Is it saturated? I will say this about that before I let Jennifer continue. I think there's always a shortage of skilled, motivated, dedicated, and highly competent real estate agents. Always, no matter how many people have a license they're hanging up. So I will say that. So Jennifer, you were talking to us about the importance of kind of market segmentation, finding your where you fit there so that you're different than every other agent. So I didn't mean to cut you off when we go to the break, but I want you to be able to finish your thoughts on that.
Mm-hmm. Just two things then. One thing is every agent brings a different level of energy to their community at different times. So even an agent who has been a top producer for an extended period of time, sometimes there are changes and sometimes they may take a break, or there's a lot of, even between those that are in the middle range of the production, they may just sell one or two homes or they just wanted to do the deal for a friend. Everybody has different reasons for why they got into the field to begin with. And a lot of agents now are doing it just to have access to the data to do their own investments more easily and efficiently. So when you see all the different reasons laid out, you don't necessarily think that you're going to be in this highly saturated market. And one thing that I was very pleasantly surprised by when I relocated to California was just how many other different types of niche opportunities you could have within the investment market, and how having a real estate broker license allowed you to provide loan consulting and put together loan packages to help secure capital financing for a variety of real estate projects on behalf of investors up to certain limits, which means that you wouldn't have to go again to find a mortgage broker license. You can do it sufficiently with sales and financing within certain states like California. So it's not all just doing the sales of the real property. You can explore other possibilities for investing.
All right. And I think that's a very key point. When we think about real estate, and honestly, I think the industry does a poor job of helping to educate and give knowledge to the agents, which is one thing you're doing, is providing that for people, helping to solve that problem. And because a lot of people go into real estate and they seem to think there's only one way to do it, and that is to be that resale, listing, and showing type agent. But there are so many different facets to real estate. There's so many ways you can get into different parts of the industry that are unique and different. You can service small investors, you can service larger investors, you can do commercial, you can do residential. You can get into doing investing yourself as part of this, as she mentioned. There's you can within those niche into certain things, multifamily, condos. There's you can go into land. There's a lot of different places to go, and I think a lot of the agents, one reason it feels like it's so crowded is so many of them come in and they got the license, but they don't realize the license, what you need to know to get the license, isn't really training. You're really not prepared to be a real estate agent. You're just legally allowed to do it now. And so let's talk about your program, Realty School 101. What type of topics? What's your outcomes? What's behind your school and what you're trying to teach agents?
Mm-hmm. Well, right from the beginning, I wanted to appreciate that there isn't just one type of learner that can experience education the best way for them and be effective in the field thereafter. So I dedicate extra time to really listening to the answers that my students provide on the initial intake. And then when I consult with them, if they require a enrollment advisory session, I want to know if they've taken an online course before, if they're wanting more hand-holding and more interaction with experienced instructors, and where their strengths and weaknesses are in the learning process at this stage, so that way I can provide as much of a tailored experience as possible, and it's not just go online and do this course and good luck to you. It's just, it has to be a lot more personalized and just showing them that I do care that they pass.
Okay. And the end objective to the course, is it a licensing course? Is it a sales and marketing course? Is it a best practices course? What are the points behind it?
I offer everything.
Okay.
And even above that, we are a research company as well.
Okay.
And we provide a lot of different types of on the ground research in different markets to come up with very unique ways of giving information, especially to prop tech companies. So that has been a very informative and insightful way to give the right information to our students, especially in the professional development phase if they choose to continue. So the main component is it's completely automated from end to end. So anyone can enroll right now and get immediate access. And as long as they have an internet connection, they can do their pre-license courses. And in some states, we offer the license renewal as well as exam prep in about 21 states currently and growing. So they can do that without necessarily needing the hand holding. If they don't want to interact, they can just go on realtyschool101.com and they can sign up and they get their official statutory course completion certificate at the end once they pass the final exam, and it's automatically delivered to them. So they just print it out and attach it to their state application and they're off to go in their exam prep phase. And then from there, we assist with their exam preparation. We have an amazing platform that I've compared and shopped around for a lot of different methods of going about exam prep, especially in California, because it is so competitive. And I have the best tool there is. And I also have several add-ons depending on how they prefer to learn. And that's where my mentor that I mentioned, where we've combined some of our services so that we can offer more options for the different types of learning needs that are out there.
Okay. And I know the automated works really well for a lot of people who have a routine. They know what they're doing. They're very clear on their outcome. I actually run an asynchronous online master's degree program in construction management. And I've learned that for some people that works really well, but for other people, the automated doesn't work well because they need to check in and be somewhere or they won't do it, because it's so easy in those systems to say, you know what, I'm so busy, I'll do this tomorrow. And then tomorrow we have another reason, well, I'll do this tomorrow. Next thing you know, 3 weeks have gone by, you haven't logged in. And so, because life gets in your way. But I like that you said you have more in-person, more personal touch if needed, because they're right. There are different learning styles and different people learn in different ways. And some people are really good at the automated, I'm self-managed, and other people are, I need a little bit of accountability and some hand holding to get through this thing. So you have I guess a spectrum of ways you can tailor this learning environment for your different clients.
Yes, and then furthermore, there's coaching, and some of that coaching can just be in setting up their business and generating income plans and business plans, marketing plans, planning in general for their next year, 5 years, 10 years out. So we provide some charts and some spreadsheets so that they can get used to disciplining themselves and focusing on numbers. And then we also introduce them to the concept of a CRM system. There's a lot of new agents who have never used one before. Some of them come from completely different industries, and the idea they just they need to know the basic tools that are used in everyday business in any industry if you're doing sales and relationship management. And then they also just need to learn how to self-structure, and that's part of the career accelerator coaching that we offer. And then there's other more custom on-demand solutions that I've provided for smaller groups, especially if there's a particular topic that the industry is most enthusiastic about and an association or a large brokerage needs that topic to be delivered in a timely fashion. I've assisted with those on-demand education platforms as well.
Okay, great. And I think those are all extremely necessary. I see a lot of agents, they say they go through, they get the license, and then they kind of get dumped out in the system, and they don't really know where to go to learn the next piece. And there's a little bit of trepidation to just talk with other agents because it is a competitive deal. It's collaborative and competitive all at the same time in that industry, and you're not exactly sure as a new agent, who do I trust, who can I work with, what's fair to ask, what's not. And I also find that one of the biggest issues is that real estate agents forget they're not employees anymore. They are independent business owners and expected to act that way, and legally they are that. And so they may work for a broker, but they're not an employee of the broker. They're responsible for running their own business, their own finances, their own accounting, their own tax withholdings, all their own expenses. They're responsible for every piece of it, and they're not answerable to someone who has a task list for them every day. They got to figure out what they got to do. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, I want to get a little bit into that about how you're helping agents to move past just I got my license to I have a path to get to somewhere as a successful agent. We're going to take a short break. This is Building Solid Foundations on KCAA Radio, and we'll be right back after this.
Fire Up Connect is the most innovative business networking group, supporting and collaborating with a dozen of small businesses that are interested in building and establishing strong business connections, hosting educational live seminars while carrying out business and community-driven projects, as well as marketing programs as a part of its membership program. Fire Up Connect also offers virtual assistance with a wide range of services including inbound customer support, chat support, appointment setting and email management, graphic designing, video editing, web design and development, social media marketing, e-commerce solution, content writing and much more. For more information, head on over to www.fireupconnect.com. Fire Up Connect, helping success stories unfold every day.
The toughest part in the lending process is patience. Like I tell all my clients, once you get those keys in hand, it'll all be worth it.
Everything that they said they were going to do, they did. I saved so much money working with First Lending Solutions. I love my new house. I couldn't be happier.
So reach out to me at First Lending Solutions so I can help you get started.
You can contact Defina Miller with First Lending Solutions at 951-973-0123, definamillermortgage.com.
Hi, this is Steve Matley. As a construction professional, I know the importance of selecting the right contractor for the job. Power Solar employs only professional installers. Power Solar will provide a knowledgeable consultant to help analyze your current electric bill, identify site placement, and correct solar technology for your home. Contact KCAA Producer at gmail.com for a free financial savings proposal with no obligation, or call 951-551-1350 and ask for Ken. Again, that's KCAA Producer at gmail.com or 951-551-1350 and ask for Ken. Welcome back to Building Solid Foundations. This is Steve Matley. We're on KCAA Radio. Today I'm talking with Jennifer Stoll of Realty School 101. Before we jump back into the conversation, I wanted to throw out a couple of things. One, Jennifer, if you're interested in what she's talking about, you'd like to get more information, go to realtyschool101.com, realtyschool101.com, or you can call 888-385-0087, 888-385-0087. Get more information on Realty School 101. And also, check out Finest Women in Real Estate. Finest Women in Real Estate is a networking and educational organization specifically designed for professional women in the real estate industry. And in their latest publication, Jennifer actually has an article in there called A Vast Array of Real Estate Experience, and it is a profile of her and her programs. So that's finestwomeninrealestate.com. You can go there and access the magazine, or you can find contact information if you want to get a hard copy of that shipped to you. So check out her article on there. So Jennifer, let's jump back into this. And one of the things that I've worked with a lot of real estate people. I'm not a realtor. I've intentionally not got a license or a brokerage because of the business I do. Because I do the development and land projects I do, it actually is better for me not to have to be an agent, but rather to hire an agent. And there's reasons for that because of legal liability, all kind of stuff like that. And so it's, when you're an agent, you have fiduciary responsibility to disclose things and those kind of things. As an investor, not necessarily so. So I intentionally hire agents that have that expertise to be a separate person than me. So I've worked with a lot of them. Also, I helped Marie with Finest Women in Real Estate put together some training for real estate agents, not license training, generally business training, because as we mentioned before the break, so many real estate agents forget that they are actually in a business. They're not just an agent, they're not a salesperson, they are a business owner and operator. And I know some of the programs that you have speak to that issue to help them to think through that they are now in a business. So let's talk to some of the resources and knowledge you can help an agent with that can help them set up a real estate business and not just be a real estate salesperson.
Yes, and that would be two things, and they're two of the most important things for any service level business. And if you're providing a real estate service, you need to know people and systems, and how do you select for all of the brokerages that are available that cater to new agents. Some of them don't. And how about all the technology that's out there that is supposed to help you, but a lot of them are competitive. And once your information gets out there, you are going to be contacted by a lot of technology vendors, and they all seem like they're doing similar things, or they're just repackaging a lot of tools. And it's definitely challenging for both new agents and seasoned brokers to choose the right combination of systems and piece all of that together. So that is something that I've been keeping my finger on the pulse for a long time now, at least a decade, and exploring anything that is prop tech related. And pretty much anything that the National Association of Realtors is supporting, like the REACH program, where they bring together those startups that are either already initially funded or they're looking for additional support. And sometimes they even have pitch competitions and they can win additional money, and they're bringing them in so that way they can exchange value from the technology space so that the agents and their members can, and ultimately the consumer can benefit more. So I've been very much in touch with every single type of prop tech and system that supports either the brokerage services themselves or anyone who just wants to explore any type of business model. It doesn't even have to be in real estate. So just choosing the right systems and knowing the right people. I make a lot of introductions in a variety of locations around the country, and sometimes even not in this country, to just anything I think I could do to help, I do.
Okay. And I know you mentioned in the article you wrote about technology being a very key factor. We think of real estate, you walk through a house, you talk someone into listing it, then you bring people in, you show it, you sell it. Where obviously we're in a world where technology is everywhere, but where does that difference between the more tech savvy real estate broker agent versus the not so tech savvy, what's the real difference there, and what's the advantage of embracing some form of technology and knowing which level to use?
Do you have to be tech savvy in order to be a top producing real estate agent? No. And neither do you need to be tech savvy to be a top recruiting broker. That doesn't really, it's not mutually exclusive. We just need to make sure that you know which technology that you do need, that you can adapt to readily, and it's going to be effective for what your desired outcome is. Sometimes the more personalized touch is preferred than to completely delegate so many of the actions that realtors take to technology itself. So keeping the person in the transaction is very invaluable and something that we need to keep at the top of our minds when we're selecting for the right tools. We're not necessarily trying to create a completely self-sustaining, technological system that can replace a real estate agent's role in the search or in the transaction process. We are just trying to select the ones that are going to be the best fit.
Okay. So what are your thoughts on, mentioning that technology replacing an agent, what are your thoughts on the Zillows and the Redfins and those kind of things out there where it looks like there's an attempt to almost make the agent obsolete, and it's a robotic type of a process going forward?
Well, a lot of recent news has told us a lot about their the potential in our ecosystem. Zillow is a member of the National Association of Realtors. There have been a lot of agreements and mutualities that have taken place that have allowed both to exist within the same space. Maybe at one point their intention was just to be a property search tool, and then they decided to become a brokerage and offer mortgage solutions. And we found a way to keep them within the ecosystem as a valuable source rather than as a major competitor to the industry itself. And their iBuyer solution that recently hit the news within the last year really showed the world that the value of a person within the transaction is also adding value to the home purchase itself, as well as the community around them. So you can't really enhance the value as greatly with just using technology without having a person that can really let you know that if you're coming from another area, especially, that this is a really good home for you in this neighborhood based on our trusted relationship.
Yeah, I saw a lot of what came out of the Zillow was AI is not, at least not here in the near future, probably the foreseeable future, replace human beings as being able to discern values and appropriateness and fit. A lot of Zillow stuff was way overvalued, way overestimated, and I think that's when you try to automate things to the point you're hoping that algorithms and AI and all that stuff take care of it, you're missing that there's a reason that the human brain has experience, it has a gut feel to it, it can discern things that we can't even articulate fully that will justify why this is probably the real value or why this fits someone better. I think that's an important lesson that we learn from that. And maybe someday we'll get there, but I think it's a lot further off than people think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard to tell because I remember when I was roaming around Silicon Valley for the past 7 years before 2020, I participated in a lot of pitch events, and they had prop tech companies, and some of those companies would present their model as a way to do things like replace the middle people in the transaction. And there were a lot of VCs who liked that, and that became their following, was to provide funding only for those real estate tech companies that were doing away with the middle people. And I thought that was quite fascinating. I don't think it really went as full force as it seemed at the time, especially when there was a lot of uncertainty going around with how things were going to play out with companies like Zillow. But other than that, it seems to be finding a core, especially when you need to mention technology like AI just to get attention from investors. There is a lot of ways that you can bring that into the fold and not necessarily have a fully built out, scalable business model that's monetized from end to end. You just mentioned, hey, we got this AI, so it's enough to get looked at by certain types of investors that want to see that level of sophistication in a futuristic kind of way.
Okay, we're going to take another short break here. We come back, we'll finish out our conversation with Jennifer Stoll. This is Realty School 101 is Jennifer's business. And I encourage you, if you're interested in finding out more, go to realtyschool101.com and find out more information. We're going to take a short break and be back right after this on building solid foundations.
Fire Up Connect is the most innovative business networking group, supporting and collaborating with a dozen of small businesses that are interested in building and establishing strong business connections, hosting educational live seminars while carrying out business and community-driven projects, as well as marketing programs as a part of its membership program. Fire Up Connect also offers virtual assistance with a wide range of services including inbound customer support, chat support, appointment setting and email management, graphic designing, video editing, web design and development, social media marketing, e-commerce solution, content writing and much more. For more information, head on over to www.fireupconnect.com. Fire Up Connect, helping success stories unfold every day.
The toughest part in the lending process is patience. Like I tell all my clients, once you get those keys in hand, it'll all be worth it.
Everything that they said they were going to do, they did. I saved so much money working with First Lending Solutions. I love my new house. I couldn't be happier.
So reach out to me at First Lending Solutions so I can help you get started.
You can contact Defina Miller with First Lending Solutions at 951-973-0123, definamillermortgage.com.
Hi, this is Steve Matley. As a construction professional, I know the importance of selecting the right contractor for the job. Power Solar employs only professional installers. Power Solar will provide a knowledgeable consultant to help analyze your current electric bill, identify site placement, and correct solar technology for your home. Contact KCAA producer at gmail.com for a free financial savings proposal with no obligation, or call 951-551-1350 and ask for Ken. Again, that's KCAA producer at gmail.com or 951-551-1350 and ask for Ken. Welcome back to Building Solid Foundations Radio. I'm your host, Steve Matley. We are talking with Jennifer Stoll from Realty School 101. We've been having, I think, a fascinating conversation about educating realtors, what they need, and kind of where technology is. Another one of the keys that you mentioned in the article I read, Jennifer, was mentorship. Mentorship being a huge thing. That would seem almost the opposite of the technology side. That's a very personal and human thing. So share your thoughts with us on and why mentorship is so important to you.
Mm-hmm. I think mentorship is important to me because it has a lot of implicit trust in the person that you are mentoring, meaning that if you are bringing them inside of your business to the point where you're sharing with them the knowledge that took you a lot of years and hard work to learn about the hard way sometimes, and you're giving them the shorter, more efficient and effective 101, if you will. Sometimes it's not just 101. I can give some very advanced lessons that I've learned from not just experience, but just other people I know who have decades more expertise above me. And so I combine all of that together and I share that with them. And the trust factor is that if they are inside your business, number one, are you creating your next competitor? And that's always the concern in any industry, not just in real estate. And the other one is just that you always want whoever's listening to you to interpret you in the best light possible. And so hopefully in the as flexible and negotiable as everything is and tends to be in real estate, you just hope they understand that There are a lot of rules, and there also are a lot of creative ways to work within a transaction to get a desired outcome. And both of those philosophies take place every day, and they create very successful people in the process.
So as a new realtor, where would you go to find a mentor? It's just because there's other agents and brokers stuff doesn't mean they're interested in investing in you. So how would I go find a mentor if I'm new in the business?
I would contact me.
Okay.
First and foremost.
Okay, if they
and
contact you, would be 888-385-0087, correct?
That will work, and you can also
Okay.
email me.
And that's Jennifer at realtyschool101.com, correct?
Yes, that will work, and I will get back to you. And it just depends. I need to know, what your background is and what you're looking to accomplish, and I'll do everything I possibly can to line you up with the right people and the right systems.
Great. And we're down to the last few minutes here, but I wanted to ask you this. What do you think is the biggest obstacle or missing ingredient that the struggling agents have that they may not know is their problem?
That's a really tough question because, so much of that I field from unique one-on-one. Everyone's a little different with their weaknesses. So just coming up with that. Fear of failure is a big one I see most often. It's just getting over that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fear. I had one of my guests a couple of weeks back. We were talking about fear. They were mindset specialists. And talk about fear is that thing that holds people back, and it's fear of failure. It's also fear of perception, fear of rejection. The fear of not getting validation. All that stuff ties together. Because sometimes what inhibits people is if I do this, it could make me successful, but it could also make me look like a fool. And so I'm not sure I want to go out there and do this, especially if it's very public, social media type things and those things. I think you're right. Fear is probably the single biggest impediment to most people achieving what they really want. And so obviously, I've always thought that the number one cure or mitigation to fear is knowledge. We're usually afraid of what we don't know. We're afraid of the unknown. And I think that's where education comes in. So companies like yours that are providing training, you're providing technology, you're providing information and mentorship, all that I think is what takes that fear away, or at least reduces it enough that people can get out of their own way and start moving towards their goals.
We're exactly on the same page when it comes to that, and the importance of education in any industry, but especially real estate. And I'd like to thank one of my most successful prop tech mentors in the industry, Alex Lane, because recently he shared with me a quote that he came up with about failing. And he said, it's not a failure. You just fell. All you have to do is get back up.
It's a learning opportunity. We learn our best lessons come from failure. And the reason why you learn more from failure than you do from just somebody telling you something is failure came with a strong emotional attachment to it, a very negative one. And that embeds it in our subconscious. We don't forget that lesson. The pain is unfortunately a really good reinforcer of a lesson. That's the way humans were designed. So I think you're right. Failure creates the opportunity to learn. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
We have to wrap this up. We're down to the tail end. I want to thank you, Jennifer. For the listeners out there, I encourage you, if you want to learn more about Jennifer, go to realtyschool101.com, realtyschool101.com. You can email her at jennifer@realtyschool101.com. That's JENNIFER at realtyschool101.com. The phone number is 888-385-0087, 888-385-0087, or go to finestwomeninrealestate.com and catch her article in the latest issue of Finest Women in Real Estate magazine, and you'll read a little bit about some of Jennifer's philosophies and some of her background. It's actually a really great read. Jennifer, I want to thank you so much for your time and being with us today and sharing what you know.
I appreciate you very much. And I also appreciate Marie of the Finest Women in Real Estate. I look forward to receiving feedback and any questions from your listeners.
Fantastic. This is Building Solid Foundations. I'm your host, Steve Matley. Catch us every Thursday, 3 p.m. at KCAA Radio, or catch us on Roku, Amazon Fire, Android, or your favorite podcast platform. We'll see you next week on Building Solid Foundations. And until then, go do something different this week.
KCAA.